Hello everyone, welcome back to Buckeye Readers Chat. I'm Nicole.
I'm Krista.
I'm Patty.
And today we want to discuss stories that we revisit every year in December. Nice. Stories that we remember from our childhood, stories that we just keep coming back to that are shown on TV, in movies, and in books. And several of the books we're going to talk about today. So let's just jump right in and visit some of our favorites. Krista, what's one of your favorite stories in December?
My favorite story in December, a classic, is Charlie Brown's Christmas. As a family, every year we would make sure that we were all home and in our pajamas and watching Charlie Brown's Christmas. I love it.
Nice. That's a good one. And so what do you love about it?
I love the fact that it's an awkward kid trying to find the meaning of Christmas. His friends thought, they were giving him a hard time about it, and he persevered. And at the end, it was great. It was great. Everybody realized that the true meaning of Christmas, and they were there to support him.
Nice. And that's where we get our iconic Christmas tree with just a little few twigs and one red bauble on it.
Yes.
We love his
anything else about the Charlie Brown Christmas?
Fun fact, the first airing of Charlie Brown's Christmas came out on December 9th, 1965, and over 50 million people were counted as viewing the one-time episode.
That's a lot of people for a first time.
That's amazing. There wasn't even much color TV back then.
No, it's probably in black and white.
True. So what's one of your favorite stories at Christmas time, Patty?
I love How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yes.
And we have the DVD, and which I like the original. I love the little...
Cindy Lou Who.
Cindy Lou Who. It was amazing, and it's something I haven't got to, but when he took all the presents and he heard the people still singing, still rejoicing, and they didn't have food, they didn't have their toys, they didn't have their decorations, but they were still happy. And it still touches me.
That's awesome. It seems like a lot of the stories this time of year are centered around inspiration and togetherness, and that's why we have so many Hallmark movies.
And what is yours?
So one of my favorite stories is the classic The Nutcracker. And I've actually brought a variety of Nutcracker books that you can check out here at the library. There's the traditional Nutcracker based on the ballet that you can check out. But then we do have some variations on the story. And this is a more recent version of it called The Nutcracker in Harlem.
Wow.
Nice. Which I believe came out 2 or 3 years ago. So you've got variation there. And then Gregory Maguire, who wrote Wicked, also wrote a version of his rendition on the Nutcracker called Hide and See. So I'm actually going to read that next. That's on my list.
Very good.
Because I have not read that one. I'm really interested to see what he does with the story of the Nutcracker. What I love about the story is you have Christmas time, you have a Nutcracker, you have a girl that starts out very upset. Her brother has broken her Nutcracker or stolen it. Various versions of the story will have that, and then she goes to sleep and she's magically awoken, and now we have the Nutcracker, who is her partner in crime, and they have to save Christmas from the rats, and it's just super fun and magical, and I love fantasy stories like that.
It's nice. Do you know the library this year we're not, but we've had culture passes for the ballet.
Yes.
And so I actually went a couple years ago using those culture passes.
That's awesome. The music is so beautiful.
It's lovely.
I love listening to it at this time.
I had the opportunity to go a few years back, and it was amazing. We were like 9 rows back from the orchestra, and it was just, I loved it. It was our date night.
That's awesome. I'll have to go as soon as we have an opportunity again. That sounds good. Well, what about stories of significance? What about you, Krista? Is there a book with really good significant message that you would like to share?
I have a numerous number of books that we have available for checkout. We have The Birth of Jesus Christ.
All right.
We also have talks about Kwanzaa, the Christmas book that touches on the tradition of Kwanzaa. We have My Family's Christmas. And then another one we have, this is one that actually touches on everything. It talks about every different culture across the world.
Nice.
Fun fact is the book says that Teddy Roosevelt, President Theodore Roosevelt, back in the day, trees were short supply, so he decided not to put a tree up. His son wanted a tree so bad. His son went out, chopped down a tree, decorated it, and put it in his closet.
There you go.
Wow.
So
Talk
that-
about a secret.
So
It's
this,
not a skeleton in the closet.
so this book talks about traditions all over the world,
Nice.
which is
Very
really
nice.
nice. And I would definitely have to mention
There you go.
the Valley of the Sun, Santa becoming to the Valley of the Sun, and it's actually mentioned that
It's
he
a
comes
cute
to
book.
Verado and Buckeye.
Very cool.
It's a really cool book. It talks about how
Awesome.
Santa crossed an anthem, and then he made his way to various places and giving out
It's a
presents.
nice local book.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I
A
love
good
it.
way to visit Arizona geography. So.
Yes, yes.
What's
So-
yours?
What's yours?
So mine is The Gift of the Magi, which is another like older traditional story where it's been done in varied ways, but we have a couple who both want to do something at Christmas time to provide for the other one because they care about them so much. And so they give up a part of themselves to be able to provide a gift for them. And so in different versions of the story, we have one where a woman goes out, cuts her hair to get money to buy her husband a pocket watch. And then you find out, or the chain for his pocket watch. And then you find out that he went out and sold his pocket watch that the chain would go to buy a comb to put in her beautiful long hair. And so each variation of the story, we get this message that it's not about the gifts that we get, it's about how much we care about each other and what that message sends with what we get each other. We do have another children's version of the book called Boris and Stella and the Perfect Gift, where you can revisit the story of the Gift of the Magi in a more childlike form, but it's such a great story and I love it for that reason.
How touching.
So, yeah.
That is,
What
that
about
is sweet.
Well, thank you.
Well, a couple of them. These two tell the story of Hanukkah, and one of them is my family celebrates Hanukkah, and the other is the story of Hanukkah. And it's just amazing. They have the gift of the tradition of giving gifts as well, but it has to do with them being rescued, and then they put out oil to thank God, and the oil lasted, instead of 1 day, it lasted 8 days, and so their tradition goes around that, and it's really cool.
Which is their miracle, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it was.
amazing.
My other book, this will go along with my story in a little bit, but The Littlest Angel. This is a beautiful story about a little 4-year-old angel, little misfit, always getting into trouble, and then everybody gets to give a gift to the new Christ child, and he was able to bring his box. Anyway, you'll have to see it, but God recognizes his gift and puts his gift in the sky, and that's the Star of Bethlehem. Anyway, it's a beautiful story. We used to listen to it as we were decorating when I was a child. It was lovely.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, are you okay if I ask the next question that leads into this story, which is,
Sure.
would you share with us a personal tradition in your family?
Yeah. So when I was a child, we would go to midnight mass. And so there was all the decorating ahead of time, and that's when we would listen to stories like this on a record when I was a child. We didn't call them vinyls, we called them records. And so we would have to, for me, since I was younger, they'd send me to bed, wake us up about an hour before we'd head off to mass and go to midnight mass. And there at church, all that time before Christmas, they had the creche up there, and it didn't have baby Jesus. And at midnight mass, baby Jesus was born, and it was there. And stepping back, as I remember some different things, we would get in the car, ready to go to midnight mass, and my mom was the slowest person ever. And we would all get bundled up, she'd get us ready, out to the car, and we would sit there 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then she would finally come out. When we got back to the house, of course, Santa had come and delivered all the packages.
Oh, how sweet. What a great tradition.
I know it was a mom thing. We would go to church on Christmas Eve or even in regular Sundays. And my mom, punctuality is not big, and we would get late. And mom, dad, and 5 kids, we would have to walk to the front pew in the church. So I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And everybody would see you walking
Yes.
up.
Yes.
Well, what about you? What's your tradition?
My tradition is, it's personal story, is my dad. My dad was Santa Claus for the community that I grew up in since before I was born.
Yeah.
And every year, and the funny thing was, Mom would help him get dressed as Santa Claus in the house, and found out as an adult that somehow she made sure that we were wherever we needed to be so we couldn't see Dad getting dressed as Santa. He did that for over 50-some years.
Wow.
He was Santa. A funny story, we would go out and we would sit on Santa's lap and we would tell him what we wanted. We had no clue that it was Dad. Funny story, my nephew, when he was, I think he was like 5 or 6, he snuck into Mom and Dad's closet and he found Santa Claus's costume or clothes. And Mom caught him, and Mom said, you know, she talked to Alex about it, and he said, "Don't worry, Mom, Grandma." He said, "Your secret's safe with me until Monday morning." And when Alex went to school, the teacher asked him, said, "Do you have anything to tell?" And Alex puts his hand up and he goes, "I know who the real Santa Claus is."
And then everybody found out
Everybody.
that it was just him. It was only him.
Yeah. So my dad was Santa Claus.
That's
Very
neat.
nice.
So what's your story?
So mine, it's not so much a tradition that we can keep going anymore, but every year my mom would hide the Christmas presents, my brother and my Christmas presents, in the same place in the house every year. It was always in her closet, and every year my brother would get into the closet a couple weeks before Christmas, and then he would come to me. He'd find the presents, and then he'd come to me and he'd say, "Nicole, I know what you're getting for Christmas. Do you want to know what you're getting for Christmas?" "No, I want to wait. I like to be surprised." And then 2 days later, he'd come back, "Nicole, do you want to know what you're getting for Christmas?" "I know what you got for Christmas." "All right, just tell me." And so we would always know what we were getting for Christmas. Maybe not everything, but some of the bigger things. And then finally, my mom got smart and she started locking the door. And that's when my brother started to learn how to pick the lock of the closet. And
How old was he?
He was very young. I think he was about 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's a problem. And then after she realized he was picking the lock in the closet, she started hiding them a little bit better. But now we don't need to hide presents from each other because we're really bad and we just give them to each other early.
There you go. Why wait?
Yeah. So. All right. Well, thank you all so much for visiting us here at the Buckeye Readers Chat. Share with us one of your favorite Christmas stories or Hanukkah stories or just winter stories in general. I mean, there's so many. We love Rudolph, and there's just so many stories we don't have a chance to touch on. But I'm sure that you guys have stories that you love. And then share a tradition in your family if there's one that you want to share with us as well. Thank you all so much for joining us,
Thank you.
and we'll see you next time.
Merry Christmas
and happy
Happy
holiday.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.